Welcome to InZynk's latest webinar on the power of visibility. The topic for today, however, I think we already know, everyone that are here. We are very excited to kick this off very shortly. And one of the reasons why we chose this very exciting topic is because most of the salespeople that we meet out on the field, they basically all communicate to us in one way or another that their brand is very unknown and they are not visible out there. And as always, we are here to help. So your co-host for today will be myself and my dear colleague, Eric. So Eric, maybe you can just quickly start us off with a quick introduction of yourself.
I am. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I can't see you, but it's nice to have you here. My name is Eric Anneberg, working together with Christopher. I spend most of my time or awakened time helping or supporting companies with aligning their sales and marketing teams towards their most important target accounts or deals, basically. That's what I do professionally.
Exactly. And myself, I'm Christopher. I have the exact same title like Eric. We have actually worked with campus marketing the exact same number of years. We started at InZynk the same day. We do the same thing on a day-to-day basis. We both even live in the same place in Tyresö, south of Sweden, south of Stockholm. So I guess, Eric, you could probably argue that we are in sync, maybe, right?
Sort of, yes.
Yeah. But of course, there are some differences between us. For one, you are an early lunch eater, right?
You could argue that, yes.
I just want to apologize in advance to everyone if Eric gets a bit grumpy close to 11:30 during the Q&A session. It's not your questions per se, it's just that time of day. But apart from that, Eric is a top guy. And since I will be more of the moderator today and asking you, Eric, most of these questions, I also decide that we don't have time to discuss any of my own shortcomings and weaknesses. So I think we should just get started. But before we move into the actual agenda for today, I thought, and this is not going to be a sales pitch in any way, but I thought, Eric, maybe you can just clarify a little bit what we do and for whom, basically.
Sure. Our main mission is basically to support some of Europe's largest companies within telecom, IT, professional, and financial services, just to mention a few, with aligning marketing and sales towards their most prioritized customers and deals, mainly to increase the chance of winning. And all of these companies that we work with use InZynk to position themselves as thought leaders and the sort of vendor that brings the most value to their customers through proactive visibility. This is commonly known as account-based marketing, but in short, this is basically what we do and who we do it for.
Well summarized, I think. And I think it's pretty safe to say then that most of the clients that we work with, they have certainly realized the power of visibility, which of course is the topic of today. And just to be very clear, how we kind of support with this visibility and also positioning, like Eric just mentioned, is primarily through highly targeted company-specific advertising. So essentially, you select which accounts you want to advertise to, which accounts you want to have a digital presence for, and what you want to say to them. But if you're intrigued to learn more, just reach out. I think you can also see here on the slide a lot of quotes and testimonials from some of the clients that we work with. So please have a look at our website if you're intrigued to learn more and what they say about us. But let's move over to just a very quick agenda for today. You know the topic. We're going to talk about visibility, the power of visibility. Of course, we're going to discuss challenges related to it and how to achieve it. And we're very excited about the Q&A towards the end. So if you have any questions already, fire away, and we hope to answer all of those towards the end. Good. Eric, can you maybe start us off with why visibility is so important?
Sure. Well, yeah, visibility is like one thing of everything, but being remembered for your visibility, I think, is another nut to crack. There's been tons of researches regarding the subject of visibility and perception. And I think, or I know, like you see on the slide there, you actually won the Nobel Prize in 2017 on economic science, where this guy, Richard, did research on the human brain and how visibility and messaging is also affected by frequency. So how many times you actually see stuff. And the research actually found that if you got a perfect, so to speak, frequency, the human brain can't really sort if the information is important or not. It gets stuck anyway, which is also why, just as an example, why jingles get stuck to our brain. I think everyone in this room can start humming Coca-Cola's jingle that went live 20 years ago.
The days are coming. The days are coming.
Yeah. Now the holidays are past, but this is like one example of frequency over time that gets stuck. The holidays are coming is probably not the best song we've ever heard. Coca-Cola might not be the most preferred drink for everyone. Still, it takes seconds for our brain to like pick it up and start humming it.
Yeah, definitely. And then hence the kind of noble hint here in the image as well. And on that topic, there's actually another Nobel Prize winner in Daniel Kahneman. You may know him from the widely popular book Thinking Fast and Slow, which you can see here. I think many of you have actually read this, and it's quite interesting. If you turn it around, you can actually see a quote from the Richard Thaler that Eric just talked about as well. So we have two Nobel Prize winners here. And Daniel, he talks a lot about frequency as well, and the familiarity principle, essentially, and in short, very much summarizing what you can see here on this slide, that people trust what they see. So I think it's time to dive into that topic a little bit more, and I want to introduce you to a psychological phenomenon called the mere exposure effect, which I think is really fascinating, where we basically tend to like things merely because we are exposed to them, and increasingly so over time. So simply exposing you to a random thing makes you like it. That's pretty odd and fascinating, I think. And probably most marketeers know this, of course, the power of marketing and visibility and being there and being familiar. And I think this is certainly equally true for many aspects in life. We have music, songs, we have products, even people, maybe with the exception of people that you kind of dislike initially. I think those we tend to dislike even further, the more we are being, those are being repeated to us. But let's have a look at just maybe a few easy examples in the day-to-day life, just to kind of cement really the effect of this. And let's start off with maybe the easiest of examples, if we go back to products as an example. Like, try putting a bag of chips or crisps in front of you when you're in the couch and see what happens with your preference in terms of crisps and chips. That's a pretty standard thing for many of us. If we see it, then we kind of want it even more. And as for music songs, I actually spoke with my son about the mere exposure effect like a week ago or something. And now you might think, well, Christopher, aren't your children quite young? And yeah, my son is 5, and I may not have referred to it as the mere exposure effect or familiarity principle, but we were in the car and he asked me to put on a song on Spotify that was his favorite song from the first round of the Swedish Eurovision Song Contest, Melodifestivalen. And I had to explain to him that that song is not available on Spotify, just because that would be hugely unfair to all the other artists that haven't performed yet. Because if we were being exposed to that song over and over again, and many, many more times than the other artists, then that would be, massively a big advantage to it. So they have to take this into account. So to make it as even as possible in the contest, they have to await releasing the songs. And I think, well, my son may not have fully bought into that argument, but I think it's certainly safe to say that it's difficult to ignore the power of visibility, the exposure effect, and I think equally so in business and in society. And I think just a last example before moving on the topic of visibility perception, like Eric mentioned as well. I think I'm not the only one. When my wife and I were expecting, we're starting to see strollers everywhere we go. Or I'm, for the first time in my life, paying attention to commercials for pipe inspections just because there's something wrong with the drains back home, on the same kind of topic. I'm sure you have many, many different examples of this in your day-to-day life and in your business life as well. I'd be very eager to hear some of them if you want to share. But Eric, back to you. And if we go back to a B2B context and winning large deals, is it really as simple as just focusing on visibility?
That's the thing. It's not. Being visible once, that's basically nothing. But being visible over time is revolutionary of how you can change and affect people's perception of you. The poor slide, I will say almost here, is our human brain. And I think this graph is actually even worse now because of all the information that we're exposed to on a daily basis. But this basically shows that over time, I think this is over a period of 30 days, the human brain remembers 3% of what it heard or saw 30 days ago. Meaning that, well, yeah, if we would ask you, the attendees of this webinar, in 30 days, what you remembered, it would be 3% of it.
Surely that cannot be correct.
Probably this slide.
Yeah.
I would say. So there's a huge challenge in being visible and being remembered because of the human brain and everything that we are exposed to, because we can't remember stuff if people are not, or brands are not remembering the brain, sort of picking it.
It kind of gets even more complex here in a complex B2B context as well. I mean, each person that you're dealing with, influencer, stakeholder, they have their own memory curve, I guess.
Yes, that, and the fact that I don't think any companies that we work with have sales cycles that last over 30 days. It's rather 3 years, meaning that you really have a sort of competition towards the human brain. But there are solutions to it, of course. Going back to what I first said regarding the Nobel Prize winner, Richard, who actually found out that perfect frequency, which then sort of challenges the human memory. So if you are able to being visible and have a frequency in your marketing or communication towards a human being or the human beings of a target account of yours, they won't forget you. And of course, there are many other things within this that you also compete with, like your competitors and stuff. But if you find a way to always, we call it soft touches. This doesn't mean that you call your prospects or companies that you work towards on a daily basis or mail them or stuff, but having a soft touch and always be in the background and a sort of presence and visibility towards them, that will help you not remembered.
So visibility, you also need the frequency on top of visibility. And
I think frequency is key. You can't just be visible.
Are there any other challenges to this if we move away from visibility and frequency to this note?
There's a lot of challenges, and I've taken out the things that I talk to and discuss together with the companies that I work with, and there are 3 things that come on top, basically in every discussion I have regarding visibility. First of all is the relevancy. The challenge in terms of being relevant, because you need to know who you're talking to, and you have to be personal and relevant, almost on a nerdy level, in order to get people's and companies' attention. But then there isn't a challenge to that, because you're not alone. I think a normal human being is exposed to, latest things I read, 6,000 to 7,000 messages and brands per day. So you're far from alone, which then again goes back to relevancy. If you're not personal and relevant, well, you're just lost in all the things that your normal human being is exposed to every day. And then there's another dimension to it, is the cost of being visible. I don't think I've met any company that has an unlimited marketing budget and can just throw away stuff to be visible. So there's a relation that you need to dig into regarding the cost versus the effect of it. So there are a lot of challenges, but there are also tools to go around it.
Yeah, certainly. Fair enough. There are certainly challenges to it. But as you mentioned, I think very few companies, particularly B2B, they have unlimited budgets to play with. But how do you become as famous and well known as Coca-Cola, but without that budget? Can you
invent a jingle?
Exactly. No. If you don't want to go for a jingle to play it on every commercial and radio station for 30 years, what can you do?
Well, the thing is, there are tools out there. For example, we use IP data in order to isolate specific organizations or companies that our companies want to reach. And then you can reach them basically everywhere, which makes them perceive you as a company with unlimited budget. So imagine having the Coca-Cola effect, but on the specific target account that you're going after. They will see you everywhere. But not only that, you can also, since you know who you target, you can also be super, we call it surgical in your relevancy towards them, communicating and being visible regarding the stuff that they need to know or need to engage in order to become better buyers from you.
And if you do this, then what are the actual effects of having this type of visibility and positioning, like you mentioned, to those selected accounts, to the top accounts that you select?
Well, there are a few effects that are commonly coming up in the dialogues that I have with the companies that we work with. You showed the second slide regarding our customers and what they tell about us. There's a lot of stuff to read about there, but if I could pick out a few things that come up on a daily basis with discussions with companies that we work with, it's first of all, sales feels they get a sort of increased confidence in the deals that they're in, because they know that marketing is sort of supporting them towards the exact same account with exact same messages that they're having in the sales dialogues. So their confidence in going after this specific deal increases. Adding to that, they also feel or even see or have, in fact, more people in meetings, in sales meetings from the buying organization turning up to meetings, people that they've never talked to before. And not only are there more people involved in the physical sales dialogues, they also seem to be more engaged and almost more informed regarding you as a vendor, but also what you can do and the essence of how you solve their issues. And that then adds to, from what I've heard, the companies that we work with feel that they win more deals that than they did before, especially when focusing both sales and marketing towards one specific deal and one specific account. And they sometimes or quite often now, I feel that we hear that the sales dialogues are also accelerated. So they win bigger deals faster than they did before, probably because they come up in the ladder in terms of the buying organization's to-do lists. Because you create a sort of consensus both in the physical sales meetings, but also on a digital level.
Yeah, and I think we both hear as well from many of our clients when we talk to the salespeople, they express it's difficult to really pin down, and it's a soft effect in a way, not as easy to measure. But many of them tell us that the sales cycle, the buying journey, just goes a bit smoother, and to your point, faster, etc. It's just easier in a way, because perhaps to your point that those are more informed and educated already, and they know about you, it feels safe, etc. Just like we talked about today. Good. We will very shortly move into the Q&A session. If you have any questions, I can see that some have already been sent in, so that's lovely. We will address those in a minute. If I was just to summarize the key points from my side, at least having listened primarily here to Eric, the expert, then I would certainly say that visibility is not everything. Visibility is really, really important, but you need to have frequency in order to be remembered, right? And there's a lot of noise out there, so you also have to make sure to be personal and relevant so that you really stand out to your audience. And lastly, you probably don't have the budget to go Coca-Cola mode and be visible to everyone globally, but you do have the tools to be as visible as Coca-Cola for the accounts that you select. So I think I speak for the both of us when I say that our recommendation is to start with the accounts that matter the most. I think that kind of makes sense. Good. And we have actually prepared a first thing in terms of the Q&A, just because that question tends to always come up when we talk about this, and that's on the measurement part. So we have actually made a screenshot here from the system where, and I'll just quickly walk you through it, not to go through all the details so much, but it's visually quite easy to see the effect. And on the upper part of the slide here, you can see the visibility data, so the advertising data, where we have proactive visibility to a specific account that we are targeting. We started targeting that account just because it was a very important account for our client, and we could see, as you can see on the bottom part of the slide, the green kind of tables that are coming in, which represents visits to our client's website. So we could see that this company is starting to look at our client on the website. So we started advertising to that account. And I think you can quite clearly see here that when you have been live for quite some time with the proactive advertising, the number of visits just skyrocketed to our client's website. And interestingly enough, when we stopped the advertising, then essentially the visits to the website stopped as well. So it's pretty easy here to see the effect. And you can't see the numbers behind here, but during the time that we advertised to this account, it was more or less 40 people, individuals from this company that came to the website, whereas now that we don't have the advertising, it's 2 people. So some quite cool effects, I think, on the power of visibility and advertising. Cool. Eric, I have a few questions for you.
Go ahead. I was
yes.
just looking at the graph and felt panic if I was the account manager for that account. Like, get the marketing going.
They did actually panic when we showed them this, understandably so. So we have a question here from Unknown. Effect of visibility. Do you have any preferences about banners and best practices of static banners? So images, moving banners, HTML5 or video?
You should have a mix. We don't know everyone's preference, so use everything. Some people like to listen, some people like to see, some people like to read, some people like to watch. So as much differentiation as you can in order to be well visible and for everyone and in the way that they want to engage with you in.
Yeah, which is
So
I
no
think is a
preference
similar answer to a question that we get quite a lot in terms of language in the ads, as an example. It's difficult to say generally because it will depend on the account that you are targeting. In what language you should communicate.
Yeah. It's the same thing with channels. There's not like a silver bullet channel that you can use. You need to use as many channels possible in order to affect and being visible and communicating to the accounts that you're going after, both physically and digitally.
I want to. I have two quick questions. So answer quickly, Eric. And if any of you want to elaborate with us, just reach out afterwards, and we'll be happy to discuss offline. So if the company that we want to target or reach isn't available through IP data, how/if can we reach them through the software that we provide?
You can't. If there's no IP data, there is no IP data. Then no one can reach them in that way. There are ways around it, but then you lose a lot of stuff as well as like tracking. So seeing not only you can sort of just report on impressions delivered and ad clicks, but I think that's just scratching the surface on what you're actually doing. So I think you lose a lot of the effect that you want if you don't have the IP range.
Reach out to us though if you can't find them. I'm not sure if this question is related to our platform or another one, but we tend to dig quite deep to really look into the available data to find them, since the accounts that our clients want to target are really important for them. I want to say thank you to everyone that came to the webinar. It's been a lot of fun. Apologies for the technical issues that we had mid-flight, but we're very happy to further discuss with any of you. And if you have any questions, just fire away to us offline. Until next time, and happy Valentine's Day.